Welcome to Module 2. This module will be about tools for building a sharing community. It will provide an executive summary and visuals of the content. This module will start with looking at the community, the importance of community and the network effects. We will then move over to tools for building a community, which will consist of online and offline communities, understanding the new consumer, customer experience building, governance to manage the community, scaling the community, and initiatives with a social purpose. And then we go over to the trust part, the history of trust, the distributed trust, trust in the sharing economy, strategies for building trust, technologies for building trust. Why is it important to talk about community? The traditional use of the term community has been described as people sharing a sense of belonging in a group and are influenced by and have influence on this group. There is no commonly adopted opinion whether sharing economy platforms create communities among participants or if community is even important for platform participants. This online training will regard the word community in a broader sense, namely as a group of people that is relevant to the functioning of a platform. Community members are identified both as consumers and providers that are present on a platform. Therefore, creating the online community is key for the successful functioning of the platform. The community and the provider's assets are the chief assets of a platform, making the platform an orchestrator of resources. The development of a producers and consumers community, that is, cross-party participation, will have indirect network effects. Indirect network effects can be created when, as indicated in picture 1, more providers or supply joins the platform, which results in that the consumers or the demand will have more choice and a higher chance for accurate matching. These effects will improve the quality of the service, platform, and experience for the participants. Therefore, the community of consumers and providers is essential. Let's move on to online and offline communities, starting with the online communities. The sharing economy community exists of both providers, the ones that supply the goods and services for the sharing, and consumers, the ones that demand these goods or services. As the main participants on the sharing platform, we call them prosumers. Community building takes time, effort, research, and trial and error. This means that there is a great deal of work that needs to be done prior to launching and throughout building a sharing business. It is also necessary to continuously ask questions, run tests, and gather intimate knowledge about your prosumers to prevent you from acting upon the wrong assumptions. Ecomodo, a goods-sharing platform, terminated its operations due to a failure to reach a critical mass of users and stay financially viable. In this case, one issue was that some producers felt strange renting out items that they normally would offer for free, indicating that an option to offer items for no reimbursement was also necessary. Another important aspect of the online community is the chicken and egg dilemma. That is, which side of the supply and demand side will you pay more attention to in the beginning and throughout? Both sides are very important. However, for each startup, there's generally one side that's crucial for the business to be successful and where most management focus should lie. With a starting point on the demand side, suppliers will see a new potential market. In general, however, the supply side is the best starting point of focus. In Ecomodo's case, for example, their failure was directly related to the inability to attract enough producers and therefore listings and supply. In the case of Parkfly Rent, another startup that terminated their operations, they wanted to activate unused cars at airports through providing the platform of renting them out. However, one of the biggest problems of Parkfly Rent was creating supply. They did not manage to grow supply sufficiently in the years that went by. They only managed to convert a small amount of supply with their marketing efforts. Recruiting new users was very costly and word of mouth simply didn't work. Moving to offline communities. Geographical communities are simply present in the same geographical area. They are important to consider when physical products or skills are being shared. What type of geographical community is desired? For example, it has been suggested that the likelihood of cars being shared drops significantly among people who live more than 500 meters away from the car. Thus, close proximity between participants on car-sharing platforms is crucial. Whereas in the case of Airbnb, a global geographical community is essential because good travel experience thrives on having a broad range of housing options at a large geographical area. Relational communities are based on pre-established relationships among its members and can be found both on an individual level, for example a family, and in collectives, for example a network of schools. Such communities exist because they share a common link, interest, or profession, which naturally makes them show a high sense of community and trust. Sometimes such communities might also be close geographically, meaning that not only do people trust each other, but they're also close enough to make shared exchanges. When spotting a relational community which could benefit from sharing assets but lack the technological know-how of building a platform for such, a sharing platform could be a valuable addition. Value-based communities are communities that share the same values and motivations. A sharing platform may decide to appeal to such values or motivations, or may search for value-based communities that agree with the values of the platform. Meeting like-minded people has been described as a reason for engaging in the sharing economy. Therefore, value-based communities can be seen as a dormant opportunity to tap into as a potential customer segment. It's very important to understand the new consumer when building a community. One way of understanding the new consumer is to look at incentives to participate in the sharing economy. People participate due to different reasons, for example, economic benefits, social benefits, and sustainable benefits. Producers and consumers have different interests and incentives to participate. For example, it has been suggested that consumers would like access to expensive items while producers may not trust their expensive items to be shared. Some research suggests that providers are motivated by idealistic aspects such as community, providing access and improving sustainability, as well as economic benefits. Meanwhile, consumers are motivated by solutions that solve their problems and add value, access, and convenience. Incentives may also differ among demographics. For example, older people may be more likely to participate due to social reasons rather than economic ones. Incentives can even differ throughout the lifetime of a prosumer. People have indicated getting involved with the sharing economy mainly due to the economic benefits, while the reason for staying and/or becoming more involved depends on the social or community benefits. In the case of Ecomodo, their narrative appealed to values such as sustainability, but this did not automatically translate into active users. An example overview of drivers for participation can be found on Moodle. Another important part of understanding the new consumer is to understand the risk-reward balance. The aspect of financial benefits in the sharing economy is said to be important for the providers. This could be a reason why platforms that facilitate the sharing of valuable items or assets with potential high payback have been very successful. Ecomodo enabled people to share consumer goods in neighborhoods. However, sharing ladders or drills were not likely to be a large source of income for the providers. This, combined with the potential risks of the product being damaged or simply having too low a payoff for the time spent on the transaction, will determine whether people will participate in the exchange. The risk-reward dilemma poses the question if anything could and should be put on a sharing platform. With low-cost items or high degree of risk, the reward may not seem big enough as an incentive. It is therefore necessary to consider what value the solution creates for the prosumers. Finally, we look at how to engage the community. There's no one way or best way for engaging the community. It takes research prior to launching a platform and during the course of running the platform. For example, Peerby surveyed people if they would be open to sharing items with neighbors before launching, and still they continuously ask users about their preferences. Connected was an online platform that brought people in contact with people in the neighborhood who could teach them something or inspire them, but they terminated their platform. Connected mentioned that they should have asked more questions to the users rather than assuming what the users wanted. Nurturing super users is another important aspect, and here you could apply the 80-20 rule. 20% of the users will engage so much in your platform that they will provide 80% of the value. Storefront engage their super users, for example their past retailers, through giving them a role as a trainer for new participants. Lyft implemented this thinking through their mentorship program, where experienced drivers could train the new ones. Finally, the narrative of your solution is important for attracting and activating participants. The narrative can change during the development of the platform. How do you make people excited? What benefits, social, environmental, and economical, do you emphasize? Practitioners mentioned that for producers, the economic benefit was emphasized in the narrative, whereas for the consumers, the sense of community, meeting other people, or personal development was important. As with any business, the customer experience is crucial for sharing economy businesses. The double-sided community, however, means that this can be more complex than ever. Following, we list 3 ways to approach the customer experience, not excluding other ways that may be relevant. Starting with quality management. The quality management depends on who owns the assets. The quality management can reach across different layers, starting with pre-checks of the participant and/or the asset. The platform can rely on feedback loops and the reputation system they have in place. Review reputation systems are further explored in the trust section of this module. Additionally, the customer service is crucial to have in place even in the beginning. For example, when booking fell through last minute on Airbnb in the beginning, the platform ensured that a replacement house was found for the consumer to prevent a bad experience. Technologies can help with the customer experience. Consumers expect customization, and technologies can, for example, help through personalizing search and recommendation systems. Internet of Things has the potential to help manage resources, for example through car locators, automated property locks, and drones on building sites. Sharing economy platforms are already utilizing artificial intelligence to improve the customer experience. Artificial intelligence can help with, for example, demand and supply matching, and setting smart prices through route-based pricing and price tips. Finally, one can look at the customer experience in the platform design. The website design contributes to the customer experience of the sharing economy solution. The following options are examples of how to allocate responsibility of the design of the platform. For example, the platform can design the platform, the participant can design the platform can be designed by the participant plus adding customizations, and it can be fully customized. Now we look at governance and how to manage the community. Often, when platforms that facilitate stranger sharing, a lack of trust may prevail. Therefore, the need for regulation and governance is higher than in pure grassroots non-stranger sharing initiatives, where trust already exists among members through established social ties. In communities that have a more social form of sharing, communities like communal gardens or toy libraries, more self-regulation may exist. When there is a low level of community in the traditional sense, it is suggested that the platform needs to establish a higher level of governance, like suggested in this scale. In the case of closely connected communities, for example among family and close friends, often a generalized reciprocity exists. This is an exchange where the expectation of receiving something in return is non-existent. Balanced or tit-for-tat reciprocity exists when goods are exchanged at their fair value in the open marketplace. Negative reciprocity exists where exchange happens only in the self-interest, as with the tragedy of commons, for example. When items are shared within the sharing economy, participants may not have the sense of generalized or balanced reciprocity and may act from self-interests. Therefore, companies or governments may need to establish a governance system. In the example of Zipcar, participants did not feel part of the community, resulting in that cars were left dirty or low on gas. To prevent bad experience for participants, governance became very important. Users even suggested that without the big brother role of Zipcar, its system would simply break down. Now we look into the scaling of the community. The sharing economy differs if it exists on a local scale versus a larger scale. It has been found that in local initiatives, focus has been on co-creation and shared spaces, that is, collaborative ownership and use of resources. In less local instances, focus has been on the transaction type of renting, leasing, or hiring, sometimes at the expense of the growth of the community. Larger scale sharing economy platforms may not possess all the features of the sharing economy, but they may still contribute to a sharing culture. Light and Miskelly suggest that there is no one sharing economy, but rather a number of sharing cultures that are emerging. The targeted community on a local scale may differ significantly in behavior and participation drivers in comparison to a larger scale. As described by the senior manager of community at Lyft, scaling the community is very difficult. An initiative must continually reassess their value and approach the community, with strategies like adding tiers to communication. The head of community at Yerdle emphasized the importance of a continuously open communication with the community, even when a larger scale is reached. Interviewees have suggested that from a community point of view, in the traditional sense of community, it may not be in the interest of a platform to scale, and that staying local may be a better alternative. For example, car-sharing platforms do not, for any practical reason, need to go global. Local initiatives may be profitable and impactful without having to reach a larger scale. When scaling, the sense of community can be lost, and ultimately companies may run the risk of lacking authenticity and differentiation or competitive edge. The sharing of possessions may also sometimes not even be desirable on a larger scale. We will briefly discuss sharing economy initiatives with a social purpose. The sharing economy has the potential to impact societies and human life in a very positive way, as has been described in Module 1. It has been argued that community-focused models are critical models for a sustainable and successful society. However, up until today, the sharing economy has mostly been explored in the commercial sector, whereas there is a huge untapped potential for exploring the model from the public good point of view. A good example are impact bonds, which are collaborations between the government, investors, and a social entrepreneur in which the entrepreneur creates innovative social interventions to tackle and resolve societal issues. Impact bonds can serve as a source of income for businesses with a clear social purpose. There are many ways that the sharing economy can help solve and approach societal issues, and all of them will not be discussed here. One of them that we will discuss is the potential of inclusiveness. The sharing economy has the potential to create more inclusiveness compared to traditional ways of doing business. The rationale is based on the fact that gaining ownership of products can be a significant barrier to people who have less income or wealth. For example, people with low income may have difficulties to get to their jobs on time, or they may not have a driver's license. Sharing mobility can increase access to work and improve economic opportunities. The same potential goes for other categories, such as on-demand working spaces, which can provide an opportunity for focus space for studying, searching for jobs, and growing the business network. An example of an initiative that created higher inclusiveness was the initiative by Airbnb, where refugees could sign up for free. An inclusive sharing economy is also good for business, since a broader range of participants are reached, stronger stakeholder relationship can be built, and the company can build a strong brand. If inclusiveness is approached with a more intentional focus, there are possibilities for increasing the positive impact and contributing to communities as well as improving the building of trust. Trust is a very important concept in building a community in the sharing economy. The definition of trust has been widely debated. Trust is essential in any activity we conduct in daily life, and without it, could not be able to make any decisions, engage in collaborations, or drive innovation forward. The common thread of trust is the gray area, the unknown, or also called the risk. Trust not only takes into account the risks, but also the rewards, the expectations of a situation, and it is highly contextual. Risk can, by example, lie in information asymmetry, when one party has less information than the other. In order to achieve trust, one must manage the risk and uncertainties that matter, because some uncertainties just don't matter. Innovation and entrepreneurship involves a lot of uncertainty since it is all about convincing people to adopt a new idea. Trust is what enables and drives change. Therefore, trust is a critical element for succeeding as an entrepreneur and innovator. We adopt the definition by Rachel Botsman that trust is a confident relationship with the unknown. Trust has gone through shifts throughout the history of mankind. Starting with local trust, high levels of social capital prevailed. Social capital can be found in many communities and networks and creates trust among participants. As communities have grown past the close connections, institutional trust has been prominent in society. However, in the past decades, the trust in institutions has been collapsing due to inequality of accountability, meaning the elite is not held responsible for their missteps, while other non-elites are. Twilight of the elites, with the digital age, experts and the rich and powerful are slowly losing their trustworthiness and trust from the masses. And the last one, echo chambers, where we are fed what fits into our predetermined worldviews. Trust is shifting from institutions and is more and more becoming distributed. According to the Edelman Trust Barometer, a friend or a Facebook friend is viewed as twice as credible as a government leader. The new trust is, according to Rachel Botsman, the distributed trust. Today's technologies are facilitating the building of trust across networks of people, organizations, and intelligent machines. With this new trust, there are many questions we need to ask ourselves, one of them being, where does responsibility and accountability ultimately lie? On some platforms, for example Reddit, the crowd curates the content. For Zipcar, it has been found that there is little sense of accountability or reciprocity for the general good, and Zipcar is relied upon to be the mediator and big brother. Another question suggested as one of the biggest questions of our time is whether technology helps us make better or worse decisions of where to place our trust. For example, sharing a ride goes against what we have been taught since we were kids, stranger danger. As has been mentioned in Module 1, we are moving towards a society where accountability, trust, regulation, and measurement will rely much on reputation capital. Ultimately, trust is described as the currency of the sharing economy. With new roles of people, extensive weight is put on trust among the players. The supply is delivered by a peer, assets are shared between peers, and the demand comes from peers. The peers participating in a transaction or exchange need to be trustworthy. Trust must exist that the customer pays, and the customer must trust in that the supplier delivers. Since the sharing economy is based on stranger sharing, the trustworthiness or trust does not automatically exist through already established social contracts. In the sharing economy, a platform normally connects and/or mediates a transaction, and it has a prominent role in building trust. Trust building through transparency in technologies has been identified as one of the most important aspects for entrepreneurs to consider when building a sharing business. If trust does not exist in the idea platform or the users of the platform, there will be no participation or interaction. Trust building relates to many aspects such as ensuring safety, security, cleanliness, mitigating privacy risks, managing cross-site participation, which is supply and demand risks, ensuring accountability and removing the bad apples that do not behave well. According to a US study by PwC, it was even emphasized by 64% of the participants that peer regulation is more important than government regulation. This puts further pressure on platforms to regulate accountability on their platform and shows even more that trust is the currency of the sharing economy. We will now speak about strategies for building trust. And we will start with understanding the trust equation by Rachel Botsman. Here she explains that trust equals the ability, which equals the competence and reliability, plus the character, integrity, and benevolence. Competence shows how capable the person is to do a certain job. Reliability relates to the consistency of the person's delivery of the job. Integrity is about honesty and fairness, and benevolence is about whether the person cares about the goal, their empathy and goodwill. Oftentimes we ask people if they trust someone else. This is not contextual enough. We need to specify what the person would be trusted to do, which changes the trust fundamentally. If a transaction is too risky, it will not happen. However, for a transaction to happen, people don't necessarily need to know each other. Instead, mechanisms to ensure the other person's trustworthiness can be taken by the platform through, for example, new technologies. This enables transactions where we value rather than fear being interdependent on a stranger. A common way of building trust is through looking at the trust stack. The trust stack starts with saying that we need to trust in the idea of the innovation, for example, in the idea of ride sharing. The next step is trusting the platform and that it will uphold quality and accountability standards. And lastly, there needs to be trust in the participants on the platform, that is, individual trust. There are strategies for building trust in the idea, the platform, and the users. One of such being the California roll principle. When sushi was first introduced in the United States, the seaweed was positioned on the outside of the dish and unusual ingredients were used. This was perceived as strange, and people therefore weren't fully able to embrace the new Japanese product. It was only after the seaweed was positioned on the inside, showing the rice instead, and using common vegetables such as avocado and cucumber, that the California roll became part of the American diet. The California roll principle enables us to overcome the emotional and psychological hurdles of trusting. Because people don't want something truly new, they want the familiar done differently. For example, the growth of the sharing economy was enabled by already trusted phenomena such as the internet, social media, and online transactions. The next strategy is called the what's in it for me principle. Will the new idea make my life better or not? Do the benefits outweigh the risks? Platforms need to clearly communicate the added value to the participants. The third strategy is related to trust influencers. The early adopters are not necessarily the most influential when it comes to building trust among the late majority, which you need to achieve growth beyond the first excitement. What group of people would make your target group think, if they're doing it, it must be safe and even beneficial for me to do it? Older people can, for example, serve as trusted users of a sharing platform. Technologies can help people take the trust leap. Technologies can build trust through enabling online transactions, creating verification processes, offering rating or reputation systems, and identity and personal information checks, tracking social footprints, creating website design and smooth interfaces, facilitate responsive customer service, enforce policies for refund and cancellation, and so on. Review rating systems are a good strategy for codify trust, for building trust. Review rating systems are the most common ways to build trust. In 2012, 92% of consumers in 56 different countries said that they trust word of mouth or recommendations from family and friends more than advertising. Review rating systems are relatively easy to implement and are used as a way to build a large-scale word-of-mouth system and trust among strangers, where the reviews act as reputation among prosumers. The reviews help with many aspects, such as indicating the quality of service, establishing accountability, creating an environment of good behavior, decreasing discrimination, enabling a better matching between prosumers, helping participants to make well-informed decisions with information about characteristics, price, availability, and so on. It is suggested that the review ratings decrease the importance of social contracts and the need for face-to-face interaction. Trust is codified. Review rating systems have, however, been found to not be completely accurate, with an inclination towards a positive bias that is generally more positive reviews than negative ones. There are several possible reasons for this. People who are satisfied may be more inclined to leave a review. The providers and consumers may form social relationships which incline them to leave a positive review. And when one party leaves a positive review, the other one may be biased into leaving one too. Inaccurate reviews reduce the market efficiency. Platforms can allow one-sided or two-sided review systems. A review rating can be combined with a written review, and the platform can also choose to make the reviews visible only after both parties have submitted the reviews. The latter minimizes the bias of leaving a positive review only after someone else has made a positive review. Blockchain can also help building trust. Blockchain enables the sharing of ownership of processes and resources combined with the regular sharing on a platform. Thus, there is no dependency on a central trust authority, and it is a way of moving towards platform cooperativism. WeHome is an example where blockchain and smart contracts are utilized, and where the owners and hosts own the solution, an initiative built on a platform cooperativism idea. Blockchain eliminates the need to trust the participants. The Internet of Things will enable the interconnection between people, objects, and resources over platforms. The need for social contracts and face-to-face interactions is further decreased due to new technologies such as smart locks, for example, where the provider who has a home can give access to their assets digitally. Internet of Things further has the potential to help manage resources through car locators, automated property locks, and drones on building sites. Finally, artificial intelligence helps recognize fraud through identifying pattern anomalies, using historical data, digital footprint, algorithms that detect risky users, and detecting trips with high overlap. With these strategies, platforms can check the background of the participants, provide fraud prevention services, and detect fraudulent users, which help increase trust. Moreover, helping consumers finding the right match and good prices for both providers and consumers can increase the trust in the platform to make decisions in the prosumer's best interest. As a summary, the practical ways of building trust in more generally the sharing economy idea and the platform is the California role principle, the what's in it for me principle, and the right influencers. Practical ways of building trust in the platform and its users can be through enabling review and reputation systems, providing free trials to incentivize participation and testimonials, provide identity checks and verification processes, provide pictures and information about the person, enable online transactions, link social media to facilitate social footprint checks, create a transparent website with smooth interface, offer responsive customer service, develop an accountability system, enable refund and cancellation policies, and offer insurance through the platform as part of the service. The content creators are Teresa Thomason and Joris Terlouw. circular and sharing economy experts and co-founders of Circular Action Tools, where we advise companies in how to explore and realize their circular business potential. Consulting expert is Peter van de Flint, co-founder of ShareNL and Sharing Cities Alliance, and we held interviews with practitioners as displayed in this image. We have now gone through Module 2. Module 2 also consists of exercises which can be found and submitted on Moodle. Insights from the field can be found in the reading format of this content. Images used in this presentation can be found in the list of references in Moodle. We will now go to Module 3, where we will explain how to build a sharing economy business model.